Over the past couple of years, Disaster Report has become one of my favorite video game franchises. It started with the first entry, and although I wasn't super crazy about it, I did find it charming and silly and certainly a hashtag hidden gem on the PlayStation 2. Then I played its sequel, Raw Danger, and was blown away. It was everything I liked about the first game times 10. The jank still intact while the ambition grew to new heights. I can't say that there are too many games that make me LOL, but Raw Danger is one of them. With just one playthrough, it became a top 3 PS2 game for me, and I've played a lot of PlayStation 2 in my day. With that said, you can imagine how pumped I was to find out that Disaster Report 3 finally got a fan translation, especially after there was another translation in the works by a different team that was cancelled 10 years ago. Finally, I could experience the next game in the series and actually comprehend what the hell is going on. And this is how it went. The year is 2011. Spring has just begun and things are starting to warm back up in the big city of Central Island. We've never been to Central Island before, but we got accepted to one of the many universities in the city, so here we are, ready to start this new chapter of our life, where we'll meet many new people and hopefully discover new things about ourselves in the process. And it seems like we aren't the only ones excited about the city. The women sitting across from us are chatting about all the cool places to go and fun that could be had in the city. It's a great place to be a student. Although we told our parents that we are going to school here to study hard and get a good job, I would be lying if I said I didn't have ulterior motives. There's also a mother and daughter discussing breakfast options, which is like, whatever, who cares? More importantly, there are 2 men chatting about a secretary who is working for the company that built Central Island. Rumor has it that she committed suicide after being caught embezzling money, which at this point in time is all just speculation. No one really knows what exactly happened or what caused her to do what she did. Rumors aside, we are hungry AF, so we kinda just accept that we'll be listening to our stomach growl for the rest of the bus ride. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. The bus we were riding crashed due to an earthquake. As we desperately try to crawl our way to safety, we noticed that we seemed to be the only person who survived. The enthusiastic young women, the hungry but happy mother and daughter, even the rumor-loving men. Not a single one made it through that devastating accident. Especially not after that. God damn. Wait, why is the tunnel after us too? So, this tunnel probably isn't the best place to be. The sooner I can get the fuck, the better. With that said, we trot onwards in hopes of finding a way to the surface. We come across a smoking car and a tutorial thankfully teaches us about the stress system. Fans of the Disaster Report series will know that each game has its own survival mechanic. In the first game, you had to manage a quench bar, taking breaks at water fountains and carrying water bottles with you to stay hydrated. In Raw Danger, this was replaced by the body temperature system, where you had to stay warm and dry while making your way through very cold and/or very wet environments. Disaster Report 3 has a stress bar that eats away at your health when you are put in stressful situations, and also when you're just existing. Which is pretty relatable, to be honest. Although it's the game's main mechanic, I find that it's kind of underutilized, and you'll see that as we go through the game. There's a lot of stressors that are introduced to the player, but they never show up frequently enough for you to actually have to pay attention to the stress bar, but I digress. After passing through the thick smoke of cars that desperately need mechanics, we come across 2 survivors. One is quite angry, while the other seems to be hanging out of his car and, on second thought, may not count as a survivor. We learn that Big Nasty's name is Morta, and he can't really get a hold of any of his quote, worthless bastards over the phone. After this attempt, he walks off in the same direction we are headed. We go to check on the other guy, and as we suspect, he is dead as a doorknob. Very unfortunate. But at least he has a backpack for us. Even in death, he was generous. It's not Prada, but it'll have to do. After some tutorial bits and finding a cute compass, we finally feel like we're making some progress. The game's way to reward our efforts is by providing us with a comfortable bench for us to rest our bottoms. Benches work as save points during the game and also work as a yoga alternative, getting rid of all the worries and stress bunched up in our tiny little heads. Oh, hey look, another compass. Once we're finished relaxing, we continue on our journey, coming across this very heavy rock blocking our path. If only there was a big strong man around here to help me, preferably shirtless and oiled up. While exploring the other side of the tunnel, we spot someone who needs help in the distance. The tutorial tells us that in situations where we would need to rescue a person, we should call out to help locate exactly where they are. Now, I want you to go ahead and guess how many times we will need to use this mechanic throughout the entire duration of the game. Once you have a number, remember it. So, Miss Girl is stuck under some rubble that is stuck under a car. How is she still alive? I don't know. I could really use that big strong man right about now. We decide to help out the girl somehow, some way. A little further down, we spot a jack conveniently placed on top of a car hanging over the edge of the road. And of course, picking that jack up leads to us falling into the abyss. After the game over screen, we give it another try. And another one. I'm not going to tell you the total amount of attempts I made at not dying, but let's just pretend that the fourth time was the charm. We head back to the woman with our new toy and set her free. She doesn't seem to know what's going on, so we tell her that there was a really bad earthquake, and that's why she was trapped under a white Honda Civic 2 minutes ago. She mentions that she called out for help to someone who passed by before us, but they just ignored her. We can safely assume that that was Morita from earlier, as he was ahead of us. After shit-talking that guy for a second, she introduces herself as Saki, and with that we become disaster besties. After being trapped for so long, Saki needs a little break before we get going, so we head back to the bench, where we get to know each other a little better. She is 22 and I'm 3, so that's good to know. We get back out there and together lift that rock I saw earlier out of the way, and holy fuck, the tunnel's flooding. As dire as this situation is, I gotta check every single corner in this place to make sure I don't miss anything. I wouldn't be able to live with myself knowing I didn't pick up that pelican compass. Anyway, together we break down the door that leads to the exit stairway. Multiplayer. So apparently Disaster Report 3 has a multiplayer mode that I cannot play. This time, not because I don't have friends, but because it uses PSP ad hoc multiplayer. So even if I had friends, we would all need PSPs and our own copies of Disaster Report. We are living in the future. I shouldn't have to put up with this shit. But from what the wiki tells me, you and up to 3 friends can link up and survive disasters together. You can unlock quests for this multiplayer mode just by playing through the single player mode. I think that's a pretty good idea, and I would love to see Irem Software stop doing whatever the fuck they're doing right now, come back to developing video games, and give me an asymmetrical multiplayer Disaster Report game. I would go feral, honestly. Strip? Huh. Anyway, after making it to the top of the stairs, we find ourselves out of the tunnel and onto the surface. This city is a fucking dump. Oh my god, who would live here? Same. I would be stressed too if I was forced to look at these PNG ass trees. Oh wait, I am. Shit's fucked and we gotta figure out what we're going to do. In my head, it makes sense to find a disaster relief shelter, and Saki seems to agree. She lets us know that the local junior high is designated as a shelter, so we agree to head there together. Besties for life. So I found this NPC, right? And I plan to joke around and be like, oh, you can really tell which characters are important and which are throwaway NPCs, until I talked to one and Saki decided to become one with the sidewalk, and I just couldn't figure out how to save her. I thought if I walked far enough away from her, she would pop back out, but no. What am I gonna do with her? After grieving for a bit, I realized that Saki would want me to move on and get to safety. I tightrope across a steel beam to search the other side of the intersection for anything useful, and hey, Saki's back. On the other side, I found a beer crate and a giant ice cream cone that ended up betraying me, and in the end, it wasn't even edible. So the only way for us to go towards the school is by getting up on that ledge and continuing down the street. Neither of us are tall enough to climb up, but we both have big brains we can use to think up a solution. Honestly, I thought the cone would be a great idea. Then I remembered the beer crate. That one also did not work, unfortunately. You know what they say, third time's the charm. Remember kids, it doesn't matter how much you fail as long as you get back up and try again. Persistence. Up on the ledge, we catch Morita making his getaway in a car. He must have a lot of money to afford a car that doesn't need to rotate its wheels. I am reminded that no matter how much I upscale, this is still very much a PSP game. We come across a car with its radio still on and decide to listen in. Our plan to make way towards the school seems to be a good idea, as the radio lady confirms that it is indeed being used as a shelter. Confidently, we march onwards. Holy shit. The one day I leave my umbrella at home, it rains cars. I would love to talk to whoever did the physics for this game, or lack thereof. After those 20 seconds of chaos, I check in on Saki to see how she's doing. I admire her for being so optimistic after almost dying. I love that energy. Now that things have calmed down a bit, we finally get some time to ourselves. Between the action-heavy, over-the-top set pieces that make disaster report games what they are, we get these peaceful gaps that allow us to really slow down and take in the remains of a once thriving city. Searching for silly little outfits and accessories to wear, and compasses to collect and display at the bottom right-hand corner of our screen. You could take the time to read disaster manuals to learn more about the things that occur during real disasters. I don't know why I would ever need to know what liquefaction is, but you know, knowledge. It's just very nice to chill out and not have to worry about being all go 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 non-stop. Like, here's some time for reflection. Get out your journal and write an entry real quick about your experiences thus far. Surviving Central Island. We can publish it after you get to safety. What the fuck is that? And why is she walking so slow? Saki is a singing lady, and the song she was humming, hella loud might I add, is one she composed herself. This tune also serves as the theme song for the game and kind of ties into its subtitle, roughly translated to a damaged town and her song, but fan translated into a fading city and her song, which I like a little better. It's not only the song that is important, but also the one singing it. Where Raw Danger focused on an ensemble of characters all interweaving in each other's stories, Disaster Report 3 scales it back in more ways than one. Obviously performance-wise because it's Disaster Report on the go, but also with the cast. Later on we will meet more characters and they have some shenanigans in the works, but Saki remains the only one that gets any real characterization and the only one we spend a significant amount of time with, whereas everyone else feels like they're dolls being played with in order to have something happen plot-wise. But I digress. In the next area we come across an earthquake-induced ravine. What is this, Minecraft? We also take some time to read magazine articles. Oh, hey, that name looks familiar. Oh, it's the ice cream I wanted from earlier. Once we're done messing around, we decide to head up the fire engine's ladder. Right as we get on top, we hear gunshots coming from a nearby building, and Saki believes it's a good idea to run towards them. Next thing you know, a car explodes and I barely make it off the ladder alive, all while Saki stares from a distance. Okay. Inside the building from where we heard the gunshots, we find two men. One with a gun and one dead on the floor. The man confirms that the dead guy is Morita, the chairman of the Morita Group, a powerful corporation that we've read a few articles about during our lovely stay in the city. Other than that bit of information, the man makes no attempt to make any of this less confusing and walks off. Saki goes to check the pulse of the man who left her for dead in the tunnel, and then she does the unthinkable. She suggests that we snitch on the guy with the gun. Boo! You suck! I'm just gonna pretend I didn't hear her say that. So, why hasn't anybody told me that fire tornadoes are a real thing? I feel like this is something I should know exists, just to fuel my nightmares. Anyway, this part sucks. A lot. The seemingly sentient firewhirl is launching fireballs towards you from some distance, each one taking chunks off of your HP and lowering your will to complete the game. I've also gotten stun-locked a few times, which is quite silly. Rina is destined to burn in hell for all of eternity. Eventually, you do find a fire extinguisher that will help you get away from here, and more importantly, get the collectibles on the other side of this truck. It's really awkward to use. You have to position yourself just so and use it from your inventory. I'm not a fan. Oh, and I almost got crushed by a truck. So, yeah, it was an experience. Not a good one, but an experience nonetheless. After countless deaths by fire, the sun starts to set and we set out to find a place to rest. I don't know how, but we found a place that wasn't completely wrecked to settle down in. Before bed, I take the time to talk with Saki. With everything going on, we've hardly had time to have a real conversation. We start by talking about Morita's death. With the lack of information, we can really only assume that the guy with the gun was the one who killed Morita. We don't really understand why, so we drop it. The topic changes to me when Saki asks why I'm on the island. I let her know that I was going to start college here. and since we're chatting, I use this opportunity to learn more about her. Saki mentions that she works as a nurse at the city's hospital, but she's been meaning to leave the city. Though she hints that there's a reason why she hasn't done so yet, she is deliberately being vague, so I don't bother pressuring her to share. So instead, I pry into her love life. I want all the juicy details. She tells us about her ex from a few years ago, but currently she isn't seeing anyone. After that, I ask about the song she was humming, and of course she says it's still in the works. Hopefully we can hear the finished version soon. These moments where we get to casually converse with Saki are probably my favorite parts in this game. There's something very cozy about just sitting down with someone and getting to know them. And shut up, I know you can do this in real life, but I refuse. IRL people are icky. Unfortunately, this series' ambitions are near unachievable on PSP hardware, but it's nice to know that they realized that and put a little more focus into the writing and characters so that I'm getting something out of this. With that said, it's time for us to catch some Z's. I swear to God, these disaster manuals kill the vibe every single time. Another one. In the morning, we are eager to continue on our journey towards the school. We are also bestowed a calm personality. According to the wiki, personality types affect how your stress bar reacts to different things, but if I'm being completely honest, I didn't notice it at all and I learned about it after I had already finished the game. There are 3 types in total and they are given depending on the dialogue choices you make. There is passionate, nervous, and calm, which makes my stress bar build slower than normal, but makes recovery from songs or items less effective, which I guess is fine because I never used either of those, so whatever. Right after we head out, a building almost falls on us and Saki is unfazed for whatever reason. My camera also got stuck immediately after, but at least I got these cool pair of boots. Talking to Saki seemed to fix it, so I thanked her, but then I took it back because she wouldn't help me push this car. And just when I think I can relax, I almost die twice trying to cross this makeshift bridge. After all my suffering, there was a chef hat at the end to reward my efforts. OMG, I'm getting Raw Danger flashbacks. What a game. While walking down the street, we spot a girl calling for help from a hotel window. Being the good Samaritans we are, we decide to make sure she is safe and alive after an aftershock hits. And oh my god, this place is fucked. And that girl was on the 3rd floor. She's a goner. Might as well cut our losses and get back on the road again. So, like after 5 minutes of running around this room, I had remembered that there's a shout button that you're supposed to use when you're trying to rescue someone. And sure enough, that was what I was supposed to do. You would think that if she was up there just watching us this whole time, she would take the initiative and yell to us first. I mean, if I wanted to be saved, that's what I would do, but whatever. As the protagonist, it is my job to risk my life to save others, so we hardcore parkour our way up to where the girl is. Not really having a plan to get her down, but I'm sure we'll figure that out by the time we get to her. A ladder has been located, and we know exactly what to do with it. After we finish up relieving some stress through the power of self-expression, Saki lets us know that we should probably use the ladder to save the girl. We shout to let her know that we are about to drop it and proceed to carry it over to the girl. Oh, and you can stop counting now. We use the shout for the 3rd and final time. Once we get to her, we free her leg with a jack, and just like that, we've saved the day. Great work, team. The damsel who was in distress up until a moment ago is Ayami Hazuki, resident schoolgirl. We tell her that we are headed to the shelter and ask if she would like to come with us, to which she agrees. Saki does her nurse stuff on Ayami's wounded leg and says this will have to do until we get some medical supplies. Lucky for us, there's a pharmacy in an underground mall next door to the hotel we're in. What a coinky-dink. I decide to stay with Ayami while Saki goes in to look for stuff to treat Ayami's leg. I'm taking this opportunity to chat up the new girl. You know, learn more about her, and god damn it, another aftershock? We better check on Saki to make sure she's alright. So the underground mall is dark as fuck. Not surprising, but I do take this as a sign to actually use the crafting system for once. Utilizing my advanced engineering skills, I put a battery into a flashlight, then proceed not to use it. There's some simple platforming, if you can call hopping over a gap platforming. Hella light aftershocks happening while you're walking about down here. Also significantly less fun ladder shenanigans. I'm still struggling to understand why they would develop this game for PSP if they knew they wouldn't be able to do any cool shit with the levels. It's so frustrating for me. We make it to the pharmacy to find Saki unharmed. I knew we shouldn't have cared so much about her safety, but since we're all here, we can look for the bandages and disinfectant together. And by we, I mean me, while these hoes sit and look pretty. Once the goods were secured and our wounded have been tended to, the underground decides to leak gas. I mean, if you wanted us out, you could have just asked nicely, but whatever. I made a gas mask, so I probably didn't have to sprint the whole way. I probably would have been fine just walking, but where's the fun in that? Back on the surface, we find the mysterious guy who we suspect murdered Morita, and Ayami seems to know him. He finally introduces himself as Detective Hikawa. He claims that he knew Ayami's family from a while back, Ayami's late mother specifically. For whatever reason, the game forces me to ask him if he murdered Morita, which doesn't really seem like a safe question to ask a potential murderer. He lets us know that he didn't, but he's on the trail of the person who did. Okay, I believe you. He hints that Ayami also knows who the real culprit may be, but leaves before we can prod any further. Because we didn't have time after leaving the pharmacy to patch Ayami up, Saki does so now, and to show her thanks, she leaves us. But not before Saki guilt trips me into giving away all my food to her. I mean, she's a growing girl and all. After she goes off on her own, Saki makes the connection that Ayami may be related to the president of Hazuki Construction, the same company that the secretary's suicide rumors stem from. Of course, we don't know for sure, and we certainly can't ask now that she's gone, so all we can do is keep it in the back of our mind in case we cross paths with Ayami again. While wandering the streets, we come across a trapped mother and daughter. They said that they were waiting for some guy from JSDF to come back and save them. That's the Japan Special Defense Force. It seems like they've been waiting for quite a while, and little Susie is starving like Marvin, so it is our duty to find her some snackies, some noms, some sustenance. Of course, Saki's role in this is to stand by and do absolutely nothing. I remember that we passed by a supermarket on the way here, so I backtrack a little to see if we can get in. Unfortunately, the only usable door is locked and has a very suspicious plant next to it. Saki tells me that there's got to be a key somewhere around here. I agree, and I think I know exactly where it is, but the game is just not giving it to me. I decide to take a step back and flirt with the idea that the plant is a red herring and that the key is somewhere else. So I sweep the streets searching for this mythical key to the grocery store with no luck. And then I go back to Saki and friends to get another hint. It turns out that the mother knew where the key was the entire time and was only going to tell me if I spoke to her directly. Like, it's not enough for me to be talking about it to Saki right in front of your face for you to be like, oh, they're talking about the key. Maybe I should share this useful information that will put food in my daughter's stomach sooner. And then it's under the flower pot. The same fucking one I checked a million times. You have to talk to her, before your character even thinks about searching for the key there. Anyway, frustrations aside, with the key we can finally enter the supermarket to continue our search for food. And this is nice. Very moody and atmospheric. You really get to slow down and take it all in without Saki inevitably bugging out in the background, ruining the gloomy disaster aesthetics. It's crazy to think that just a day ago this store was clean and pristine and filled with shoppers buying bread and shit. You know, that's the thing I like about disaster port games. They usually do a good job at crafting these almost post-apocalyptic ass locales for you to soak up, and although they generally did better on the PS2 games, this grocery store is probably the best example of that in this game. Sometimes I think about the fact that there's this crazy disaster and there's just no corpses lying around. Oh, there goes one. I may be stressed out, but at least I have a key to that room from earlier. We backtrack all the way to that locked door, slide that key in, and turn that knob. And in that room, we find a box of Calorie Mate, my favorite. I bring the food back to the little girl so that she can eat, and immediately after, a rescue helicopter arrives and saves them. Although this seems like the perfect opportunity to end the game by climbing into the helicopter, there is only space for one more person. Like, there's no way you could possibly squeeze another person in there? I tell Saki she can go, but she refuses, so I guess we'll continue to make our way towards the shelter. A little ways down the street and we finally make it to the shelter. Things are looking up. A nurse that knows Saki quickly takes her away as the medical team needs as much help as they can get. And then I get harassed by a news reporter named Honda. She tries to squeeze some info out of me, so I tell her about most of my experiences so far, but I decide to leave out the whole Morita murder because I'm not a snitch. After she leaves, you get bombarded by 7 million disaster manuals. How do I disable these? He sure looks gloomy. My house. My family. Wah. There's just so much shit lying around this place, just begging to be shoved into my backpack. I'm sure y'all won't need this stuff. I don't believe any of you are real anyway. When we finish stealing, we approach Saki and overhear a conversation between her and the nurse from earlier. Apparently, the director of the hospital Saki works at has stayed behind for reasons unknown. I wonder if this will delay our rescue in any way. Immediately after that convo, we get a pretty pre-rendered cutscene featuring Saki singing the song she was working on earlier. Now we have lyrics and a little more insight on Saki. In the song, she's more or less singing about wanting to reconcile with an ex-lover, but this song could also be interpreted as being about having hope for the future during dire times. It's a song that pulls everybody in, boosts morale, helping all the survivors to move forward optimistically. I mean, look at everybody in the shelter gathering around to listen to Saki. Fuck all the people who need urgent medical attention. Let's all watch that girl sing. I don't blame them. I'd let someone die too if Lana Del Rey came to my disaster relief camp, or God forbid FKA Twigs. Imagine the trolley problem. Of course, on one rail you have 5 people, but on the other you have FKA Twigs concert tickets. Not even Twigs herself, just the tickets. I'm not gonna say it, but you know. Know that I know that you know what I would pick. Oh my god, I'm going to hell. But yeah, the song's cool. A little sappy, but I can dig it. After a round of applause, we decide to listen to some guy on a soapbox. This guy is trying to warn everyone that we must leave this shelter because it is about to be destroyed. He tells everyone that he is Ishizawa, a geologist, but still no one believes him until a nearby building collapses and suddenly everyone feels like heading to the shelter in the East District. It seems like he's looking for someone though. Just before we go on our way to the East District, we come across Hikawa again. We tell him that Ayami left the group shortly after he did, but he didn't seem too worried and immediately asks us if we know someone named Ishizawa. He was literally here 2 seconds ago. You didn't see him as you walked up to us? I guess not. It would seem as if this Ishizawa character was the person Hikawa was searching for this whole time. Maybe he was the one that murdered Morita. Oh, but that's none of my business. After leaving the school, it starts raining cats and dogs, but luckily someone left an umbrella lying around. Again, I don't have to worry about my body temperature in this game, so I'm not sure the umbrella does anything, but I'll use it anyway. We wander through a park that is mostly destroyed. Falling trees everywhere, cracks along the ground, but at least these gazebos are still in good shape. On the other side of the park, we find some sort of tower on a man-made island, but unfortunately the bridge we came all this way to cross is broken. Out of the corner of her eye, Saki spots some people crossing a nearby bridge that isn't so broken. I don't see anything, but I'll just take her word for it. After that, the ground shakes, a load screen pops up, and now I am somehow separated from Saki and in immediate danger. I guess the developers forgot to show us what the fuck happened, but there's no time to think about that now. We have to get out of here. Okay, let's try that again. What am I doing wrong? Oh, so I was going the wrong way the whole time. Okay. Why? Skyscraper is about to crash down on you. Would you like to take the time to learn about how buildings can be dangerous? Again, it doesn't show the building actually falling, but after the load screen we find that it fell in such a way that it can be used as a bridge to get back to land. Saki turned into the Flash and waited on the other side as I fight for my life. We walk a little further down to where Saki saw those people in hopes that we can catch them before they leave. A lone gunshot can be heard from where the bridge snapped, and surprise surprise, it's Hikawa and someone else holding on for dear life. Before we can make a move, an aftershock decides to take Hikawa for some whitewater rafting. RIP. I guess we should go over there and see what's going on with the other guy. Give me a second and I will head over there and do just that. Turns out the other guy on the bridge was Ishizawa. Before we can ask about what's going on, the bridge starts to break, even more so than it was. I think fast and rush over to the truck and start pushing, thinking that we can use this as a way to bridge the gap. Miss Sunshine was taking her sweet time to join in, and why is Ishizawa's bitch ass not helping? Once we're safe, we try to get some answers from him. Ishizawa seems to know Hikawa, but doesn't seem to know why he would try to kill him. Ayami comes out the cut to join our conversation, and it turns out everybody knows everybody. Small world, huh? After some extensive consideration, I decide to let her know that Hikawa is most likely dead. Spoiler, she does not take it well, but interestingly enough calls him her brother. Which is weird because earlier Hikawa only mentioned that he knew her mother before she passed. I'm not sure if that hints towards anything, I just thought it was strange. The rain stops and day turns to night, so we decide it's best to set up camp. Gathering around the fire, I take this opportunity to get a better understanding as to what's going on here. Through asking Ishizawa questions, I learned that Ayami is indeed the daughter of the president of the Hazuki construction company, and Ishizawa worked for that company as a geologist in the past. which would explain how he was aware of the island's instability, as the Hazuki construction company were the ones who built the city. He also confirms that Ayami and Hikawa are siblings, but refuses to talk about it any further when Saki questions why they don't give off sibling vibes. Turns out, Hikawa was also engaged to Ishizawa's daughter, who worked as a secretary at Hazuki Construction. You heard that past tense state of being, right? His daughter is the same secretary that's all over the news and magazines in the city. The secretary that took her own life. And now, I feel like a dick for bringing up his daughter. The reason why Ishizawa left Hazuki Construction was because he discovered that the foundations of the island could not support a city if an earthquake ever were to occur, and the presidents of both the Hazuki and Morita companies decided to disregard everything he told them and built the city anyway. So it's nice to know these big corporations don't give a damn about regular people even in video games. After our interrogation, we check in on Ayami, then proceed to ask her the same exact questions we asked Ishizawa. She provides just a little more clarification on her relationship with her brother. They both have different mothers and weren't as close as Hikawa would have liked them to be. She seems to blame herself for his death. With all that being said, we decide to get some rest and then head out towards the East District shelter in the morning. As everyone tries to get some sleep, we get another banger from Saki. Hell of a time to start singing. I'm gonna wait until everyone is asleep before I start making noise. Like the first one, this number is also about being separated from a loved one. Although it's not as optimistic, it's certainly more emotional and seems to resonate with Ayami, who was trying to go to sleep, but was forced to listen to the song instead. Since Saki was already woken up, I might as well sit down and have a heart-to-heart with her. We stand by the river and she opens up about her past. Before nursing, she was in a band with her boyfriend, who happened to be a talented singer and guitarist, but before their debut, he left the group. This caused a huge argument that left the two going their separate ways and Saki losing all interest in singing, leading her to become a nurse. Only recently did she find out his reason for leaving the band from a friend. Turns out that he quit so that he could be his dying father's successor by running a factory. I don't know why you wouldn't communicate that and save your relationship in the process, but what do I know? Upon learning this, she is filled with a whole lot of regrets and her passion for music has returned. So much that she wishes to quit nursing to follow her dreams. Good for her. This marks the end of day 2. Next morning we wake up and that old coot Ishizawa is gone. No one knows why he left or where he's at, but fuck him, we move. Saki decides that she will visit the hospital to see the director and tells us to go on without her to the shelter. She's my ride or die, so I think it's about time I do the same for her. Ayami agrees, so together we take off towards the hospital that may or may not have a living director. For some reason, the hospital parking lot is filled with shipping containers. Like, I know the whole city's fucked and a lot of things aren't exactly where they're supposed to be, but this just looks out of place. Before heading in, we decide to stop at a room with surgical supplies to properly patch up Ayami's leg before we start searching for the hospital director. And after that, Saki goes to search the hospital alone since she knows where he might be. Ayami and I wait outside for her to return. Hopefully this doesn't turn into another underground mall situation, and it seems Ayami is worried about that too. So to ease both of our minds, I decide to go in to accompany her just in case. When we catch up to Saki, she is found trying to convince the hospital director to leave this place with his wife. Instead of letting this play out, I rudely interject myself into the discussion. The old man tells Saki not to worry about that and that he is more than happy to stay by his wife's side while the world crumbles around them. He then encourages Saki to chase her dreams, and that seems to be enough to convince her to get to safety without them. She really looks up to the director, but she understands that this is what the man wants and she tries her best to be supportive, even though she isn't 100% okay with it in the moment. Damn, y'all couldn't wait until we left the hallway? The hospital isn't doing so well, so it's about time we skedaddle. This place has one too many near-death experiences waiting for me than I can take. It seems the fire escape is a no-no, so we decide to try the elevator shaft. For someone who wants to live, you sure are going down that ladder mighty slow. We meet back with Ayami, who is thankfully okay and is happy we got out in one piece. We fill her in on what happened and decide to continue our quest towards the East District. What the fuck happened here? Look at this guy. When we arrive at the East District shelter, we are attacked by this low-poly man and his evil henchmen. They take my friends hostage and demand that I give them all the food I have. Apparently, what I have isn't enough, so they decide to keep my friends along with some other hostages until I bring them something to eat. So off I go on a quest to procure rations in order to barter with these lazy-ass highwaymen for the lives of my party. Behind the city hall is really the only place I can go besides the shelter where all the starving people live, so I believe that is a good place to start my search. In a warehouse, I find a woman who may or may not be dead. Surprisingly, the game doesn't make me yell to check if she's still alive, so I just leave her, for breaking and entering is more entertaining. Inside the city hall, I come across Honda, the reporter from earlier. I ask her if she has any food that can be used to save the lives of my comrades, and she says no and recaps us on shit we already know. Ishizawa's research found this island unsuitable for a city, and Hazuki and Morita silenced him and blackballed him from the science community so no one would ever listen to his findings. All that for some sweet shmoney. Evil corporations are evil. We continue searching the city hall, but everywhere we look there is nothing edible. I did find a Geokun compass though. He's the homie. Back outside, we find a hole in a fence that leads to the back of the warehouse that actually has access to the inside, and somehow everything is on fire. I don't know how a fire would even start, but here we are tight roping along the railings, still searching for food that's probably burnt by now. Once we make it across the building and down the ladder, we find ourselves where we saw the woman's body earlier. I assume she is unconscious because we were given the choice of either saving her or the food. The other will be crushed by the steel frame. This has got to be the hardest decision I've had to make this entire game. It's not even close. Eventually, I decide to save Miss Girl. RIP food, but I think I'll get some karma points for this. The woman I saved is named Hagi and is a school teacher. She went into the warehouse looking for food in order to save her students from the same gang of ruffians that are holding my squad hostage. The crate of food I found is gone, but good news is Hagi saved one box of yummy calorie mate. Hopefully this will be enough for them to release everyone. Look at them swarm like seagulls. Disgusting. And it wasn't even enough for them. So we're back to square one. However, they are generous enough to consider letting everyone go if we can entertain them somehow. I tell the worst joke known to man, but hey, at least I tried something. Hagi didn't put in any effort. Here comes Saki to the rescue. She sings just for a bit, and that's somehow enough to convince them to turn a new leaf. And just like that, everyone is reunited. This shit is so fucking stupid. The big TV on the City Hall building turns on and shows what I presume to be live footage of Ayami's father. A group of reporters is confronting him about Ishizawa's research. How could someone so important as Mr. Hazuki neglect the well-being of the citizens in a city he chose to build? Not only does he obviously lie about knowing about the air pockets, but he turns the blame towards the reporters and the citizens themselves for putting themselves in this situation by living here, which is wild as fuck. It must be difficult for Ayumi to watch her father act a complete ass for everyone to see, but it looks like she may have other problems to worry about, such as everyone who watched the same footage gunning for her for just being related to the bastard who's at fault. So now we are all on the run. The chase is way longer than it needs to be, though it could have just felt long to me because I kept getting caught, forcing me to restart the whole section. But like, it's not my fault they left all this stuff on the ground for me to pick up. I want all of it. After several attempts, I finally made it to the end, but at what cost? I missed an item. Just because we lost our pursuers doesn't mean we're out of the clear yet. We still have to stealthily make it to where Saki and Ayami ended up. Didn't know I was playing Metal Gear Solid. We meet back up with Gang and Ayumi is looking a little down. She says she's worried about Ishizawa, but she most likely has more going on in her head. We can't really figure out how everyone knows what Hazuki's daughter looks like or what exactly they plan to do when they catch her, but we decide it is best to just move on and try not to get caught and find out. Through searching this building for another exit, we come across an underground parking garage. Where there's a parking garage, there's an exit. Passing by a car with its radio on for whatever reason, we learn that there's a helicopter scheduled to land on the Hazuki construction building, which is supposed to be close to where we're at currently. This is very convenient. Oh my god, are they dead? Damn. I wake up Ayumi before she drowns and she quickly goes to save Saki. Via mouth to mouth? That should be me. I guess I should be happy everyone is still alive. I mean, these two girls are everything I have in this cold, dark, and unforgiving world. Oh. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. As we get closer to Hazuki HQ, we hear the rescue helicopter that will hopefully take us away from the city. We must hurry because they certainly will not wait for us. After dodging death yet again on a collapsing bridge, the gang finally makes its way into the lobby of the Hazuki building, and it looks kind of fucked. There isn't really any sign of life, but then again, everyone who is in the building is probably waiting on the roof for the helicopter, and so should we. The stairs that lead to the elevators and the stairwell are completely broken, so I'm sent to find a way for the other two to get up to the next floor. I find a water hose that I could probably use as a rope to pull the girls up, but I can't seem to figure out how to use it. Eventually, I get it. You're supposed to use the hose on the suspiciously bright part of the railing. Silly me. Just when I finish pulling them up, the men who were chasing us from earlier find us and start throwing rocks at Ayumi. Lol. I tell them to go on while I hold them back somehow, but I end up just running from them once they get up to the second floor, so I don't really know what the point of that was. In the stairwell, I meet back up with Saki and Ayumi, and we continue to make our way to the roof. Not only is the angry mob still after us, but we still have to worry about the aftershocks that are slowly destroying the building. I don't know how, but we ended up getting caught by our pursuers again. Luckily, Hikawa has just come back from the dead and is up the next flight of stairs. I know y'all saw that, right? Just one gunshot was enough to scare off those thugs, giving us some time to catch our breath. Unfortunately, we don't have time to ask how the hell he's alive right now, as we all have a flight to catch, and even if we didn't, these aftershocks might send us flying down the stairwell. As we head up the stairs, we run into Ishizawa again. He rushes to the roof with Ayumi, leaving my bum ass behind. Saki stays with me, but I tell her to go on ahead and I will catch up. Now we are racing to the top of the building, all while trying not to fall to our death, which is easier said than done. The only thing that was going through my mind as I rushed up these stairs was, oh my god, these camera angles suck. Give me tank controls or give me death. On the roof we find Hikawa pointing his gun towards Ishizawa, who is holding Ayumi hostage. Ishizawa claims that this is revenge for what happened to his daughter. After he had told Hazuki and Morita that this island could not support a city, he was fired and his findings were swept under the rug. The money and the political influence that could be bought with said money was deemed more important than what would eventually happen to the city. Ishizawa's daughter Keiko purposefully got a job at Hazuki Construction so that she could find proof and expose those sickos for what they've done. And just when the head honchos caught wind of what was going on, they had to take her out. The rumored embezzlement and suicide that was spreading around town in publications was just a cover-up for a cover-up. Because of what happened, he vowed to get revenge by murdering both Morita and Hazuki. Turns out that he was the one who killed Morita, not Hikawa. Hazuki, however, escaped the island before he could get got, so I guess Ayumi is the next best thing. Both Saki and I agree that we have to find a way to put a stop to this. I attempt to trade places with Ayumi, but it doesn't look like Homie is gonna go for that. My next idea is to take Dude out from behind. There's a railing along the side of the roof that travels under where they're standing. Saki uses her beautiful singing voice to distract Ishizawa from what I'm doing, and everyone else joins in. Good thing they sing indefinitely because it took me forever to find out how I was supposed to get on the railing. But once I got on, it was smooth sailing. When the time is right, I reach for Ishizawa's leg, breaking his focus and giving Hikawa an opening to shoot. Ayumi then tries to convince Ishizawa that Keiko wouldn't have wanted him to do all this after she sent him the data disk. This catches him off guard and he is shot once again. He asks Ayumi how she knew Keiko sent him a data disk, and without hesitation, she admits both her and Hikawa set everything up so that Ishizawa would go crazy and murder both Morita and Hazuki. Everything was planned by the two, including Keiko's death, and all this was done to avenge her mother. Turns out, Ayumi isn't actually Hazuki's real daughter. 10 years ago, Hazuki Construction was on the verge of going bankrupt, so help was sought from the Morita group. And so Hazuki Construction was chosen to build Central City in exchange for keeping quiet about the money Morita would embezzle from the project. Morita also had another condition, and that was for Hazuki to release his wife to him. After which, Ayumi was conceived. Ayumi is Morita's daughter. She found all this out when her mother died. She was so upset with Morita for demanding her mother and Hazuki for giving her up, that she teamed up with her brother Hikawa and planned revenge. Although Ishizawa has always treated Ayumi and Hikawa well, there's a reason why they decided to use him to enact the revenge, and why it had to be in a way that would ruin his life as well. Back when her mother was in the hospital, Ishizawa's family came to visit. Ayumi left the room while they spent some time with her mother, only to come back after they had left and find her mother in shock and unable to respond to anything she had said or even move. She remained this way until she died. This was due to Ishizawa's wife yelling at her because Ishizawa lost his job due to Hazuki and Morita. Like she had anything to do with that. Hikawa even dated and proposed to Keiko, all for this plan to work. The whole family had to go. A 2-year-long setup for revenge is dedication. You really have to hand it to those two. They stayed consistent and put in the work. Too bad Hazuki's bitch ass got up out of there before their plan could follow through. After all these events have unfolded, both Ayumi and Hikawa seem to feel some regret for what happened. Neither of them felt how they thought they would after all this was over. Suddenly, an aftershock sends Ayumi flying off the roof towards the water below, and you bet your fern I let that crazy bitch die. Am I supposed to feel sorry for her? I don't know. Killing someone's daughter in order to get them to kill your father's and ruin his life in the process is next level fucked. She can drown for all I care. So, I guess that's the bad ending? I reloaded that game and for whatever reason it took me 30 minutes to get through the stairwell part, which is odd considering the first time around I did it with one attempt. After a while, I got so frustrated that I ended up using save states so I could just move on. I did the rail thing while Saki was singing her heart out and skipped through all the reveals and monologues until I got to the moment I had been waiting for. This time, I tried to save Ayumi. I don't know how falling with her to our deaths will save anyone, but I did it. A pre-rendered cutscene shows both of us side by side Titanicking it up while passed out. There's a helicopter in the distance with Saki on it searching for us. Unfortunately, she couldn't spot us and they fly off. Or maybe we both died and she saw us and didn't bother coming closer just to confirm. I don't know. This is also a bad ending. I guess all the stupid dialogue choices I chose throughout my playthrough came back to bite me. If I had a good relationship with either of the girls after I had attempted to save Ayumi, the helicopter would rescue us and I would get to watch some sort of epilogue for both characters. Knowing this now, I definitely have to go back and replay this game. Perhaps with the male MC just to see if anything's different. This is definitely a disaster port game. It may not be as out there, funny, or ambitious as the first two entries in the series, but it certainly follows the same formula. Everything is just scaled all the way back. And that is to be expected with it being on PSP. I miss the longer and more dramatic set pieces of the PS2 games. Everything in Disaster Report 3 just lacks the length needed for it to have any sort of impact on the player, and it's kind of sad. Disaster Report as a series is just too ambitious for the 2000s handheld gaming scene. And that was obvious before they had even attempted to make it work. Disaster Report and Raw Danger both chug on the PS2. The performance wasn't all that good on home consoles and Irem still decided to go with the PSP over the new and improved PS3. I'd like to think that the PSP was chosen because of how popular handheld gaming was and is in Japan, but like, this game isn't what I was hoping for. It leaves me wanting more from every aspect. It's jank, but it's not ambitious jank, it's just limiting jank. And that's something I can't fully get behind. It's not a bad game at all, but it's not a good one either, and certainly not one that I could recommend to someone, especially when Raw Danger is right there. But I will say that I am glad I played this at least once and that it got a fan translation. It's always nice to see those. You know what else got translated? Linda fucking Cube again. I know what I'm playing when I finish playing Persona 3 Reload.